No room for you, my mom sneered at the resort. Sleep outside with the animals. My son's face fell. Now they're begging for my help. I found myself staring out the living room window as the sun began to set. Up here on the fourth floor of my old apartment building, which wasn't exactly in the nicest part of town near Phoenix, I could see the sun dipping below the horizon of the desert. That vista was honestly one of the few good things about my life at 34. Mom, I'm done with my homework. A happy voice called out from behind me, and I turned around, smiling. My 8-year-old son Noah was holding up his math workbook, which was decorated with small dinosaur drawings scattered between the problems. Good job, sweetie, I said, but don't you think those dinosaurs distract you from the math? Nope. My dinosaurs are smart, they help me with the calculations. Noah declared with a proud grin before running to the small telescope that sat in the corner of the living room. That telescope had been a used birthday present from me, and Noah, who loves astronomy, valued it more than anything. He was likely getting ready to do some stargazing again tonight. I watched my son and let out a sigh. My income as a graphic designer at Desert Print wasn't exactly great. Although we lived a simple life with our old apartment and pre-owned furniture, those calm, happy days I created with Noah were what mattered most. Suddenly, my phone buzzed and Mom was flashing on the screen. I paused before I answered it. Carol, it's been a while. My mother, Eleanor Williams, spoke in a cold tone. Her call was unexpected. Mom was running Williams Estate, a real estate firm that operated in the ritzy neighborhoods of Phoenix. She had been on her own since my dad passed away young, and she had built the company from scratch, earning admiration in the business world for her sharp business sense. But that strong will came with a price, specifically when it came to the family's relationships. I've arranged a family vacation to Desert Mirage, the fancy resort located in southern Arizona, for the upcoming weekend. You and Noah are coming. Carol didn't say a word. It had been so long since her mother had suggested they all go on a trip. How many years? Their relationship had completely fallen apart when Carol got pregnant when she was 19 and quit school. Her mother had insisted she have an abortion, and when Carol declined, she had said, "You are no longer my daughter." From that point forward, she had cut off all monetary support and shut Carol and Noah out of the family. Well, can you get the time off next week? There was no feeling at all in her mother's tone. Carol glanced at her son, who was currently staring through the telescope, completely engrossed in his star map. She really wanted him to have the opportunity to spend time with his grandmother and his aunt, even though she didn't expect a particularly warm welcome. That will work out perfectly. I believe Noah will be thrilled. Good, I'll email the specifics. Vanessa will be there, too. The call ended. Carol took a deep breath while thinking about her sister Vanessa. Vanessa was the vice president at their mother's business and was married to a very successful financial analyst. They had no kids, but that was her decision. My sister, she always said having kids was pointless, and she'd never said anything nice to Noah. Who was on the phone, Mom? I asked. It was Grandma. We're all going to stay in a desert hotel next week. Oh, wow, that's awesome, I said, my son's eyes lighting up. It must be incredible to see the stars in the desert. I hugged Noah. Seeing his simple happiness, I couldn't tell him about my worries. I could only hope this trip would somehow mend our broken family. As the sun set in Arizona, our rental car pulled up at Desert Mirage. My son took a sharp breath looking out the window. Mom, look, it's like a castle. The fancy resort that materialized in the desert really did look like a castle. The modern glass and the old sandstone went really well together, shimmering as they caught the sun. Look at that giant pool. Noah was leaning forward, all excited, pressing his face against the glass. The water was so clear and blue, surrounded by fancy umbrellas and chairs. Easy now, Noah, I steadied my son, but I felt my own heart pounding. Could we really spend these 4 days peacefully with my mom and my sister? I just didn't feel comfortable being at a place like this. After parking the car, I took Noah's hand. He was wearing his backpack with stars on it, and his eyes were practically beaming. I carried their small suitcase as we walked into the lobby, feeling very apprehensive. My ears picked up the sound of their footsteps as they walked on the polished marble. An exquisite chandelier was suspended from above, and in the middle of the lobby there was a huge fountain adorned with desert blossoms. Large-scale cactus art pieces welcomed visitors nearby. Behind the front desk, a member of the staff, looking to be in his mid-40s, dressed in a navy suit, welcomed the arriving people with a grin. His name tag revealed he was Michael Scott, the general manager. Carol, Noah. You finally arrived, he stated. Turning, they spotted Eleanor and Vanessa situated on lounge sofas. My mother was dressed in stylish resort attire, whereas my sister had designer shades perched on her head. Both of them looked completely at home in this environment. Hello, Mom, I said. Vanessa, I forced a tight smile. Hi, Grandma, hi, Auntie, Noah chimed in upbeat. That's Auntie Vanessa, not just Auntie, Vanessa said, displeased. I'm not that old. Alina gave Noah's head a brief pat before saying, "Let's go check in, it's getting late." Noah and I followed my mother and sister over to the front desk. When Alina said their last name was Williams, Michael dealt with their check-in in a professional manner. "Ms. Williams, your 2 grand suites are prepared." I breathed a sigh of internal relief. My mother had actually booked a room for Noah and me. Perhaps this trip could actually help ease the tension between my family. I clung to this feeling as I stood there next to my mother. Following the check-in process, Alina received 2 room keys. She put them in her and Vanessa's luggage. I waited, but no keys were offered to us. "What about our key?" I asked. After an unsettling delay, Alina answered with a tone that was completely cold. "I didn't get a room key. There's no room booked for you. You'll have to sleep outside." Carol could hardly believe what she was hearing. "Mom, what are you even saying?" she asked. "This has to be a prank, doesn't it?" Alina stated flatly. "We didn't have enough money." But she added, "Since this was a family vacation, I still wanted you here. The desert is huge." Vanessa chuckled and added, "Maybe you can just bunk with the animals." Carol started to tremble. Was it pure rage, or was it shame, or maybe just deep sadness? Her feelings were just too tangled up for me to say. "Mom, we don't have a room," Noah asked in a small tone of voice. His nervous gaze met hers. Looking at him brought Carol back to herself. This wasn't the time to show her feelings. Right now, she had to shield her son, who was right in front of her. "It's all right, Noah. Mom will fix this," she said while hugging his shoulders, hopping. She sounded strong. Michael, who was behind the front desk, had overheard everything and seemed worried. He offered, "If there's anything I can do to assist your family with getting a room," but Alina cut him off immediately. "Michael, they won't be staying here," she said. Then both her mother and her sister headed toward the elevator. They clearly didn't have any regrets or doubts. Michael looked at both Carol and Noah, who were left in the lobby, with remorse. He said, "I truly am sorry. If there's anything at all that I can possibly do." "Thank you," she said, "but we'll be fine." Carol took her son's hand and led him out of the resort. The desert, as the sun began to set at Traggers, was a beautiful shade of red and really took my breath away. The temperature plummeted very quickly. We settled down next to the building of the resort and pulled out our light jackets from our bags. We spread out the small blanket we had with us, and we arranged it as a makeshift bed on the sand. "Mom, are we actually sleeping outdoors?" Noah's voice wavered a little. I held my son close to me in a hug. "Don't worry, Noah, Mom will keep you safe," I reassured him. "We'll find somewhere else to sleep tomorrow." Right then, a group of people emerged from the resort. Approximately 10 individuals had cameras and telescopes, and they were all dressed in vibrant outfits. "Are you okay?" a woman asked as she came towards us. She told me her name was Sarah, and she was leading the desert stargazing tour. Even though I was stammering due to feeling both embarrassed and irritated, I quickly described our problem. "Oh, that's awful," Sarah said. "Please accept some blankets and snacks until we're done with our tour." "That's not needed," I replied with a bit of a stubborn tone. "We'll manage." Just then, one person in the tour stepped forward. "Madam, please consider accepting our offer, if only to keep your son warm from the cold," he said. "I'm James Morrison, a photographer." He seemed to see something special in the way I was holding my son and shielding him from the moonlight. "This scene truly touches me," he added. "Would I have your permission to take some pictures?" I agreed with a weary look on my face. James took a few photos, and I also took a few pictures. The tour group shared their blankets and food. They said they'd check on us once their viewing session was over, and then they vanished into the desert. The desert air was chilly, and I, along with Carol and Noah, were huddled together, trembling. Our forms were only visible due to the moon's glow. Then, out of nowhere, Michael appeared from the resort. He looked like he'd made a concrete choice. Michael then brought Carol and Noah into the resort's rear office. This office, late at night, was very quiet, just a desk lamp providing the only light. First, Michael thought something warm to drink was needed. He warmed up some water in an electric kettle and prepared some hot chocolate. Noah clasped his mug with both hands, and his features softened as the warmth spread through him. Michael said, addressing Carol as he sat down, 15 years ago you were a student at Phoenix Design School, correct?" Carol's eyes became wide with amazement. "Yes, but how did you know? For your final project, you developed branding for a tiny desert hostel called Sunset Rest, didn't you?" "Yes. But it was only a student project, and I never thought it would actually be put into practice." Michael smiled as if remembering something good. "That design changed my life," he said, beginning to tell his story slowly. "I was managing a small hostel that I'd inherited from my grandfather back then, and we were about to go bankrupt. After I had no money left and was really at my limit, I found a design exhibition at the local university." Michael pulled out an old picture from his desk's drawer. This worn photo showed a sleek branding design. It was a design with a logo that depicted a desert sunset. I didn't have any money, so I'm ashamed to say that I took a photo of your displayed design and used it without changing anything at all. Carol let out a gasp of surprise. I couldn't believe my design, something I created as a student, was actually implemented, and by the proprietor of this fancy resort of all people. Because of that design, the hostel experienced a surge in reservations. Happy guests told others, and in just half a decade, the establishment had grown substantially, resulting in this. Michael indicated the resort surrounding them with a sweep of his hand. Your design is what fueled Desert Mirage's success. I've been searching for you for a long time, but the school's records had a different name. Back then, I was going by my mother's last name, Kendrick, Carol shared. Michael gave a slight nod. When I saw the scene at the front desk tonight and heard your name, I started to connect the dots. After viewing the photos James took, I was certain it was you. He pulled out his phone and showed a vintage webpage. It showed a picture of me, a young teenager, along with the desert-themed hostel's logo and the branding I came up with. I just had no idea, my voice shaky with emotion. At the time, I became pregnant and dropped out of school. I had almost abandoned the idea of pursuing design. Noah was focused, listening to the discussion between his mom and the stranger as he drank his hot chocolate. Michael's demeanor turned serious. Carol, your design is the reason I'm in this place today. And what your mother and sister did to you and Noah tonight is absolutely inappropriate at my resort. He rose to his feet and pulled out a key card. I've booked our best suite for you and Noah. The expense is my personal means of expressing my gratitude at no cost to you. I felt Carol's thankfulness, yet I also saw her concern for my mother and sister. Michael spoke softly, assuring me they'd be treated differently. The following morning, Carol, Noah, and I were savoring our breakfast in our fancy suite. The desert sunrise was visible right from our room, which even had a little private pool and a fountain on the balcony. These pancakes are incredible, Mom, Noah said, speaking with his mouth full. Suddenly, someone knocked at the door. Upon opening it, Alina and Vanessa were standing there. Their facial expressions were entirely different from last night. They looked drained of color. How are you even here? Alina asked, sounding shocked. Michael got us a room, Carol said softly. Just then, Michael showed up in the hallway. Alina and Vanessa, your bags have already been taken down to the lobby. This resort does not accept people who belong to a street family. You need to leave right away. Alina was so angry. Pardon me. Do you have any idea who I am? I own the Williams estate. Michael responded calmly, saying he knew. He also added he understood their behavior. He pulled out a tablet and brought up an Instagram page. It showed a picture of James with Carol and Noah embracing under the moonlight, and it had the title, Family's Cruel Act of Abandonment at a Luxury Resort. It had racked up tens of thousands of likes and shares in a matter of hours. This post doesn't mention your names or the resort, he explained. However, a lot of people in the comments are guessing at who you are and what you did. How you manage this mess is your own responsibility. I couldn't believe it. Alina just yelled that it was defamation, that she'd sue me. I didn't even flinch. Honestly, going that route would just get more people involved and more people knowing about everything, I thought to myself. I'm just upholding the rules of my resort, that's all. Anyone treating their family poorly isn't welcome here. Vanessa glanced at her phone and she looked absolutely terrified. Mom, that picture is going around in the real estate industry groups, she stammered. Everyone knows it's us. The look on Alina's face shifted from pure rage to stark terror. Her real estate business thrived on how she was perceived. Her reputation was basically falling apart before her eyes. You have half an hour to get off my property, I said, my voice firm. That's my final decision. Alina and Vanessa stared at Carol, and I could tell they were both furious and scared. But neither one of them could say a word. They just turned and headed towards the exit. I stood there completely overcome by a tangle of feelings. I hadn't really hated my mother and sister. I just wanted them to acknowledge me. Are you all right? Michael asked kindly. Noah took his mother's hand in his own. Mom, I'm happy we didn't have to sleep with the camels, he said, his little face serious. I couldn't help but smile. Me too, Noah, I'm really glad about that. Michael offered us a smile. Please now enjoy the resort as much as you possibly can. Later that day, as Noah and I were sitting under a poolside umbrella, the photographer, James, came up to us. He checked the photos on the screen of his camera, looking apologetic. Carol, I'm sorry if my post made things worse with your family, he said. I shook my head. No, actually, thank you. The picture is the reason Michael managed to locate us. James seemed to relax and he settled into a chair near the pool. I also need to talk about something else. He unfolded his portfolio, displaying it for Carol and Noah to see. The portfolio was filled with photographs, each capturing the connections between people globally, families, couples, companions, different kinds of affection as seen through his camera. I'm hoping to put together a photo book centered around these bonds. I'm hoping to use the picture I snapped of you and Noah last evening on the cover. Could I get your okay? Carol appeared startled. Our photograph. This picture holds a special significance, James said sincerely. A mother's strength, her pure love for her child, it's captured beautifully by the moonlight. Naturally, I'll offer fair payment. Noah's eyes were gleaming. Are we going to be celebrities? Carol glanced at her son and after a pause gave a nod. Yes, if our picture could move someone emotionally. The rest of the day at the resort was quiet and calm. Noah was playing in the pool and Carol was reading in a lounge chair. Every so often, a pleasant desert breeze would brush across their faces. Carol, a voice said. She turned to see Michael standing there. He had changed from his formal clothes into comfortable resort wear. I was wondering if you and Noah would want to have dinner with me if you're free. Carol responded with a smile and agreed. As the sun went down, the three of us enjoyed dinner in the resort's highest-level restaurant. Through expansive windows, the desert sunset was visible, the interior softly bathed in its warm, orange glow. I noticed Noah was enthusiastically chatting with Michael. They were discussing desert wildlife. He mentioned that many species are active at night, like foxes, coyotes, and owls. Michael explained they rely on celestial navigation. I watched Noah, completely focused on Michael, his eyes bright. Observing them, I felt a pleasant feeling well up inside. As we finished dinner, Michael's demeanor shifted, becoming more solemn. He made a proposal to me. Setting down his wine glass, he went on in a calm voice. Would I want to work on revamping the resort's image? My eyes opened wide, surprised. After all, I only work at a small local publisher. Michael genuinely replied that ability isn't limited by location. He said I have a unique talent. Our resort chain has plans for expansion and we need a new look. He thought this role would be ideal for me, but I was hesitant. There's Noah and his schooling to consider. Of course, he smiled kindly. I don't have to decide immediately. Take your time, think about it. Later that night, after tucking Noah into bed, I joined Michael on the resort's terrace. The desert sky was filled with countless stars and the sounds of coyotes echoed in the distance. I told Michael that I'm giving his offer serious thought, but I'm afraid of disrupting everything. He held my hand. Carol, he said, I waited 15 years to be with you, and I can wait a little longer. You could postpone your arrival until Noah finishes his academic year if you prefer. Whatever choice you settle on, I'll be fine with it. Michael's words moved Carol and she glanced at him. She felt genuineness and affection emanating from him. For ages, she'd longed for someone to recognize the real her, and now that individual was standing directly before her. Actually, I've been pondering things, Carol stated, summoning her bravery. Noah has become enamored with this location, and he excels at adjusting to new schools. Also, these past 3 days with you have renewed my faith in my potential. Michael's expression brightened at her resolve. Then, officially, Carol Williams, would you take on the role of creative director at Desert Mirage? Carol responded with a smile and a nod. Yes, that would be wonderful. The following morning, on the day they were scheduled to leave, Carol got a call from James. The publisher of his photo books was incredibly interested in the photograph of Carol and Noah, and even prior to its publication, a renowned fashion brand had requested them for their advertising campaign. It's a campaign highlighting the connection between a mother and child, power and beauty. Your genuine story touched them deeply. Carol was completely astonished. Her life was about to undergo a massive transformation within a single week. I don't see myself as the fashion model type. They're not searching for professional models. They're after the authentic bond between you and Noah, James explained. You're already inspiring courage and hope in numerous people. Carol bravely said yes. This wasn't just about the work. It was about how what she and Noah had gone through could maybe be useful to other people. That night, instead of going back to their place, Carol and Noah accompanied Michael to look at a house that was close to the resort. The house was a contemporary cottage that fit seamlessly into the desert scenery, just a quick 15-minute drive. I hope you like it, Michael mentioned, sounding a little on edge. Noah gave a shout of pure happiness at the desert vista visible through the big windows. Mom, look. We can see tons of stars from our yard. Carol's heart swelled with appreciation for Michael, and she responded, we couldn't find a more perfect place. For the first time in ages, she felt she had discovered a place she could genuinely call home. A year had passed, and Carol and Noah were living a happy, peaceful life in their cottage near Desert Mirage. The desert sunrise was just starting to light up the red rock formations outside the window. Carol had found a lot of success in her job as the creative director at the resort. The resort, now redesigned under her direction, had become even more popular as the jewel of the desert. Noah had made a lot of new friends at the school he went to and enjoyed desert expeditions and horseback riding lessons with Michael on the weekends. Michael had become like a dad to him. Carol and Michael's relationship had gotten deeper, and they had just announced they were getting engaged. They were planning a simple desert wedding, and Noah was ecstatic to be the ring bearer. My goodness, James's photography book had really taken off, especially with Carol and Noah's desert picture, which seemed to be everywhere, celebrated as a representation of a mother's love. Also, the brand campaign for the descent had got some traction too, and a portion of the profits were going to groups that helped single moms. On the flip side, things weren't going well for Alina and Vanessa's real estate business. It was a real struggle. After that social media thing blew up, the Williams estate's reputation was damaged, and a lot of clients were pulling out of their deals. Vanessa's husband had also filed for divorce, pointing to the problems the family's reputation had caused, and their fancy way of life was starting to crack. One afternoon when it was raining, Carol got an unexpected visitor right in her office. Her assistant announced that Alina Williams was here to see her. Alina didn't look like she used to. She was wearing simple clothes and looked totally exhausted. "Carol, the company is about to crash," she started. "I'm about to lose it all. I need your help." Carol was shocked. "Why would I help you?" I asked myself. Then Alina said, "Because you're my daughter." Alina's eyes started to fill with tears. "I was wrong about you, about everything. I need to make things right." I looked out at the desert from my window. As all these feelings were battling inside of me, I looked at Noah's photo on my desk and took a long, slow breath. What was the good in holding on to all that anger? "I can't give you any money," I said slowly, "but I can get Michael to help you figure out how to save the company." I paused for a beat before going on with what I was saying, and if you're truly looking to make a shift in yourself, why not begin by being a grandma to Noah? He's going to be 9 next week, and it's a big deal. A spark of optimism brightened Alina's expression. "Seriously, you'll really give me an opportunity. People have the ability to alter themselves whenever they choose." I know I did. A few weeks after, when it was Noah's birthday party, Alina actually demonstrated some real love for the first time. She presented her grandson with a homemade astronomy kit and said in a quiet tone, "I want to be a genuine grandmother from this moment forward." Vanessa also started to transform gradually, expressing a sincere interest in Noah for the first time ever. Following her separation, she had shed her earlier self-importance and was now more down-to-earth. As Carol watched the desert sunset from the resort balcony alongside Michael and Noah, I thought that having to spend the night sleeping in the desert might have been the single greatest turning point of my entire life. "Sometimes when you're stuck in the desert, that's when you see the most breathtaking landscapes," I said to Michael. Michael held my hand and remarked, "Destiny sometimes appears in ways we least expect." Noah was drawing pictures in the sand right in front of us, grinning joyfully. Standing behind him, Alina and Vanessa looked a little uncertain as they navigated their new family ties. Beneath the sky dyed by the sunset, their new chapter was just beginning.